All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. And we're just going to walk through creating a transaction today. If I can get my husband to be quiet here for a quick minute. We're going to be working on this for about an hour. And Autumn, I see your name. I don't see you. Are you in the Etowah office? And you might not have audio. Sorry, we're still in the moving process. We've got all the furniture here to the Cleveland office, but we haven't got anything set up yet. Okay, so we're going to go into Transaction Desk. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen on that. And you can log into Transaction Desk either through your MLS or you can go in through the Tennessee Realtors. However you get in is how you get in, and you will come to the same spot. So you have this agent dashboard, and we have it set up for you so that you can click right here on this blue box to create a transaction. And in order to create a transaction, that's all you have to do is click on Create Transaction. Now, we do have a specific way that we want you to name the files, if you will, and it is the address, it's the property address, and a hyphen the client's name or customer's name. Then you will need to choose a template. You will not have to, more than likely, not have to add any forms to your transaction as long as you choose a template. So let's say if we're going to write up a purchase and sale agreement, we're going to choose the residential house sale package right here, residential house sale package. Now, this is for the Tennessee side. We're having a specific Georgia training on things starting next Monday evening at 5:30. We're going to be having a Georgia forms class, and then we'll be having a Georgia side. And I will go ahead and tell you right now, I'm sorry, I should have done this before class started, but let me show you something that has happened that I'm going to be taking care of now that I'm the operations manager. If you log into your My Weicker KB Core, if you will, and once you've logged in there, when you come to the dashboard, you will have what is called the company cloud. And I want to show you guys this. The company cloud. Here it is, the company cloud. And on the company cloud, you will find something called SEM tools. And then if you click on SEM tools, it's going to open up a folder for you. Now, if you've never clicked on it before, it's going to email Todd, and Todd will give you access to this because this is just for our agents. And in here, you will find lots of things that you can utilize. And one of the things that we have is checklists and training checklists. And if you click on that, these are all the checklists. These match the checklists that we have in Transaction Desk. And the ones that say training, the ones that say training actually have notes on them, as you can see here. And that will help you understand what the form is for, what to do with the form, things like that. So those are your checklists and training. Then going back to SEM tools, if you scroll down to Transaction Desk, you're going to find Transaction Desk directions. You're going to find the Transaction Desk file process. And I am working on Transaction Desk Georgia directions right now. And there's going to be a little video in here. I've already done the video. I've got to put together the written directions right now on how to do a Georgia transaction and then move it into the Tennessee Transaction Desk side so it can be reviewed. So I wanted to show you guys where these tools are all at. There's lots of things in here. There's some buyer stuff in here, expired stuff. We've got the annotated forms for training. I'm just starting to get this stuff in here. And so bear with me a little bit as I get this stuff uploaded. Some different training handouts from some of the past trainings that we have had. So just know that under your My Weicker in the company cloud right here, company cloud, you're going to have under SEM tools lots of things. Now, As far as Tech Thursday and Form Friday, these should be the links that would get you in everywhere. I know that on Thursday we've had a couple of issues, but that supposedly has been fixed at this point. But also watch your email for those links. So that's that little commercial. So let me get rid of that stuff now and get back to Transaction Desk. So I'm going to close out of here and start all over. Create transaction, name it with the property address, hyphen the client's name. Choose your template. We're going to do a residential house sale package. And if I wanted to, I could import an MLS number here. And that's going to be more in an advanced class. This is just going to be a basic create your transaction today. So we're going to click on create. And when it creates it, what it's doing right now is it is loading all the forms, the basic forms that you'll need to write up an offer. And for those of you that may have a Georgia license, if you have a Georgia Transaction Desk, we have the templates set up in there the same way. They're all set up. You should not need anything. Most everything is in there, let's put it that way, that would get you started on making an offer. And so it's going to take it a minute. And what it does at this point is it is opening you up into what is called the wizard. And with this wizard like this, I still use it. I still use the wizard today. You need to go through and fill out as much information as you can down through here, okay? Now, of course, you're not going to have a lot of information on the listing other than the list price. But in those transaction desk directions where I just showed you where to get them in SEM tools, there is an explanation of, for the Tennessee side right now, not on the Georgia side yet, but for the Tennessee side, that there is an explanation of which one of these fields actually print out on the form. Okay, so those are the ones you definitely will need to fill out. So anything that you fill out in this wizard is going to auto-populate on your forms, so you don't have to type as much in on your forms, okay? Purchase price is the purchase price, deposit is the earnest money, and then you can use property includes, and that will fill out the section under other items that remain. So I'm just going to stick a little information in here, and I'm going to make some information up, and so that we can have something on our forms, okay? And I can't type and talk at the same time, you guys. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to come down through here and do some things. I do want you to notice that the transaction status is sitting at open. At this point, if you're writing up an offer, you need to change that to pre-offer, okay? And come on down here in the legal description, tax ID number. Making that stuff up as I go. Legal description, the Tennessee Realtors recommendation for what goes on that blank on line 10 of your purchase and sale agreement is the tax ID number and the lot number and the subdivision name. This is totally different for Georgia. This is only on Tennessee, okay? All right, and we're going to say that they're going to offer $345,000. They're going to put down $4,000 in earnest money. They want to ask for the stainless steel side by side. Super cool is the model. Refrigerator. Be very specific. They don't want the porch swing. Okay. They know that there is a propane tank leased. So you're going to put that in leased items, and then you're going to click on next. And next is going to take you to step 2 of the wizard. Step 2 of the wizard, you don't care about the list date or the expiration date, but you care about the offer date. So if you click in the offer date blank, it will open a calendar and you can choose the date that you're making the offer. The same thing in the offer expiration date. You've got to have an offer expiration date so you can choose when the offer expires and add a time, okay? You can also choose a closing date. Buyers, of course, for some reason, it's 30 days is what we use, but you really should get that information from the lender. So we're going to go out and we're going to say we're going to close on May 4th. And then we're going to hit next. Do not hit save and exit at the bottom of your screen because it will take you out of the wizard. When we hit next, we have got the me, the selling agent, and I don't know why we have 2 Weikert realtors. I got to figure that out. Every time I teach this class, I say I got to figure that out, and then I forget about it. So I'm just going to delete one. And in order to delete one, I'm just going to click on the menu, the traffic light menu on the right-hand side by that, and I'm just going to click on delete. And so it's still got the selling broker in there. I need to add a buyer, and I need to add the other agent, and I need to add the sellers because those are all participants to this transaction, and they have signing blocks. So I want to make sure that everybody is in here that is part of the transaction. So I'm just going to click on the plus add icon, and I'm going to say create a new transaction contact, and I'm going to put a buyer in here, and the buyer's name is Mother Goose. Okay. And I'm going to put my buyer's email in here. I'm going to put my email in here, one of my emails, so that I can show you what they get. And then you've got to fill in the legal name, the preferred signature, and the preferred initials, because that is what will print out on the form, okay? And this box should be default checked for you, so it will save it to your address book. And there's also a tab at the top where you can add additional address information. If you want to, you can put in whatever their current mailing address is, their cell phone number. And one of the things is once you have built up your customers and clients inside Transaction Desk, you can actually export that in a CSV file that you can then import into my Weikert KV Core to work with. So it all we work it together, okay? So once I have my buyer in, maybe I've got 2 buyers, I would enter both of them, but I click on save. So now I've got a buyer here, and I need to add a seller.
I'm expecting you're interested in that casserole and breadsticks, basically.
Let me mute Jason. Okay. All right. So we have a we need to add a seller. So I'm going to create a new transaction contact, and I'm going to say this is a seller, and his first name is Henry. Sells a lot. Okay. Now I won't have his email because I don't work with the seller, so I'm not worried about it. But I do want to put his legal name in here because that is what will print underneath the blanks on the form. Okay. So that's what you want to do. And your keyboard shortcuts will work here. Okay. Like the Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. That will work for you in here. So I just click on save. So now I've got a seller in here, and I need to add another real estate agent. I may have worked with them before, so they may already be in my address book. And so I could go to add an existing contact and look for them. Let's look for Terry. Let's make Terry the other real estate agent. Okay. Terry Barnett. I want to make sure and put his legal name in here. Okay. And then I'm going to copy and paste his signature, and I'm going to turn him into the listing agent. See up there at the top, I changed him to the listing agent. Okay, and I'm going to save him, and then I've got to put his brokerage in here so it will fill out this information on the forms. We really need you to do this, to get all of this information in here. And let's see if Weikert is in there. Let's see if there's a Weikert. There we go. There we go. Weikert SEM Associates. So we're going to click on add there. They are the listing broker at that point. So all I'm doing on step number 3 of the wizard is I am adding in the contacts that are going to be involved in this transaction. And once I add them into this transaction, I don't have to do things with their email and such before or again. It's all in there, and I'll be able to utilize that information without typing out a bunch of information. Okay, so follow me along here. Next, I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to go to step 4. And this is where you will see that your forms are already in place. You have to remember in Transaction Desk, forms can be typed on, documents can't. Okay, so these are the forms from the state of Tennessee and the WRSEM forms that you need to use. You will notice there's a red M by some of them. That means they're mandatory and you have to use them. And a lot of people have asked, well, why is there not an M by the buyer rep agreement or the working with a real estate professional? Because you don't use both of these, you use one or the other. So one of these has to be used. The representation agreement, if the buyer wants representation. If they don't, then the working with a real estate professional. And so where there is a choice of forms to use, then we don't have the red M beside them, right? Just like the VA FHA addendum, not all buyers will get a VA FHA addendum loan. So, we can't make that mandatory. But you will notice that there are some that are mandatory, and there's several of these that are WRSEM forms, and they start with a WR, okay? So you should have what you need in here to do a basic transaction for a residential sale. And then if you click on next, this is where you would upload documents. So what you would put here would be the documents that you find on the MLS, like the property condition disclosure, the lead-based paint disclosure, a compensation agreement. Those kind of things is what goes here because your buyer has to sign those. So this transaction that we're working on right now, we are working on it as if we are working with a buyer and writing up an offer to purchase. And so what I need here then is I need a property condition disclosure, a confirmation of agency, those things that the listing agent has uploaded in the MLS. So before I actually started to write this up, I've gone to the MLS and downloaded those into my computer, and I have them to upload now. So to do that, all I do is click on the plus add icon, and then here's the big blue box. So I can go out here and I can find my stuff that I downloaded. Now, we taught a class previously about setting up your one real estate folder, and then inside your one real estate folder, you would have your buyers and your listings and things like that. So hopefully you've got that done. If you haven't, we'll have another class on organization before too long, and we can do that. So I'm just going to, if I had set this up as a buyer, okay, let's see, I think I've got one in here. I've got test. So this would be maybe the person, Mother Goose, that I'm writing this up for right now. I would already have the documents loaded in here, okay? I'm going to just go out though and grab somebody's property condition disclosure and such so that we can use them. I'm trying to think of somebody that has one. Let's see if he's got something in here. I don't know why Susie's Facebook cover's in there. I'm gonna have to check that out. Here's a lead-based paint disclosure, and here's a confirmation of agency. So I am going to open those two, and I can check more than one, and it will open up more than one. And I'm going to need to go somewhere and grab a property condition disclosure, because those are the things that you should have in your, let's see if there's one in here. No, I'm trying to think of one that's open right now that we've got a property condition disclosure on. Let's see if there's one in here. There's an exemption. That will work. Okay, we'll put that in there. So when you get to this document section, this is where you need to add the documents that the listing agent has uploaded into the MLS. Now, if they have not uploaded a confirmation of agency or a lead-based paint disclosure or an exemption or property condition disclosure, you're going to have to get those from that listing agent before you write your offer up. Again, that's another class of everything you need to put together before you make an offer. But you're going to need to upload those here into your transaction. And once you've walked through the 5 steps of the wizard, you can click on done. That gets you started, okay? It's not finished, it gets you started. At this point, oh, I thought I changed that. You're supposed to change the status to pre-offer at this point. And this check mark is your save button. So change it to pre-offer and click on save. I thought I'd done that already, but I didn't, I guess. So at this point now, you have created the transaction and you should be setting on the transaction dashboard. Whenever you're inside a transaction, working on an individual transaction, you do not use the left-hand menu over here on the left hand of the screen. You will always use your menu items on the right-hand side or on your dashboard. You want to stay in this transaction the whole time you're working on this transaction. Okay, so I need to fill out the forms. So all I have to do is I click on the word forms over here to the right, and it's going to open up all the forms that I have in this transaction. And those were there because you chose the template. And so I'm going to need to start filling out the forms. And in order to do that, all I do is click on the form name. And I click on the form name. Okay, and it will open up the form in another section of Transaction Desk that is called the form editor. Okay, it's called the form editor. And this is where you can type on the forms. So you would print the customer's name here. And a lot of times people will say, well, we entered that into the details section of the wizard as we were walking through. So what Transaction Desk does, if it is a form that is used for both buyers and sellers, like this affiliated business arrangement form is, this is a Weichert form, and it's used for buyers and sellers, then they will make you put the name in because they don't know if it's the buyer's name or the seller's name that you've entered into the contact section. Okay, so that's why it's there. So you will have to type that one again. Okay. And then you'll need to choose a date. Don't forget to put a date in here. And all you got to do is you can click there and type it in, or you can click on the calendar and open it up and put the date there. And then when you scroll down to the bottom, again, because it's this type of form, well, truly it should be putting the broker here. I need to make a note of that. I'm going to ask Terry if he'll make a note of me so that I can get in touch with Transaction Desk and tell them they need to be filling the broker in as whoever the listing or the buyer's agent is. And that may be why they're not doing it also. Mother Goose is the buyer and Susan Barnett is the agent. And once you've typed something several times into a blank, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but it will remember what you've typed there. And so it will give you suggestions, if you will. So then I'm going to go to File. Did you see that? I typed it in. I'm clicking up here on this File icon. I'm clicking on Save and Save. Okay. Now you might have noticed there is a Save as PDF. If you save as PDF, that's going to download it to your computer. And you don't need to do that unless you're going to type on the forms and print them out and do everything in person. So otherwise, you just click on File, Save, and Save. And I want to go to the next document in the list. I don't have to leave the Forms editor. I just click on Transaction Forms up here at the top, click on it, and I go to the next form. I've already talked to the buyer about agency, and we actually filled out the buyer rep agreement in a different time frame, maybe. Or maybe these buyers told me they don't want representation. They want me to write the offer up, which I can do as a facilitator, but they don't want to sign a buyer's representation agreement. So maybe I'm going to use the working with a real estate professional. Whichever one the buyer wants to use, it's their choice. Okay, yes, it's on our checklist, but it's the buyer's choice whether we represent them or not. You've got to have an agency discussion with them, and you should have already done that before you get to the point of writing up an offer. Okay, make sure that you know that. I'm not going to fill out this confirmation of agency form because I downloaded one and brought it into the document section from the listing agent from the MLS. Okay, so if I don't have that, then I would use this confirmation of agency form. But I am going to work on this purchase and sale agreement. Okay, so I'm just going to click on that. Now you will see that some of the stuff that we put into the wizard is already printed on the form. It does not get every blank. Okay, Now, there is a blank in the wizard for instrument number. I just didn't put one in there because not all counties track by instrument number. If it does, then you would add it. If it don't, then you could put an NA in that blank because it's not applicable. Then you have to fill in a blank here. Are we going to have, how many garage door remote controls are we going to have? Well, let's say 2 maybe. And you get that information from the property condition disclosure. It says on there how many they have. Here's where I wrote in the stainless steel side-by-side super cool refrigerator. Okay. Here's where I put that the porch swing won't remain. We know from the property condition disclosure that there's a propane tank. So we're going to ask them, we're going to tell them whether or not we want to assume the lease on that. Yes or no. If they don't want to, you check this box and then you write propane tank right over here. Okay. The buyer does not want to assume that lease. They want to get their own company and set that up. Here's how much they're offering on the house. They're looking to do a conventional loan and they have 10% down. So they are looking for a 90% loan. 90% of the purchase price that we've listed above is what they're going to look to borrow. And it's going to be a conventional loan. So I'm going to check that box. I'm going to scroll on down here. This is not applicable. Okay. This is when they're paying cash. That's what you use when they're paying cash. Since they're getting a loan, we're going to mark that it's contingent on an appraisal because most banks will want that. However, some might waive that after they get the process started. That's very easy to do. Then we're going to come on down here and we have to address these items here. And we're going to say the buyer's going to pay their own costs at this point by the buyer. And because the buyer are paying their own expenses, I don't have to do anything right here. So I can just type NA right here because we're not doing anything here. We have pre-filled in conveyance title. If there's anything that the buyer wants to use a different title company, they can choose that from the vendor list and you can change that. We have pre-filled in, I believe, 3 days on the earnest money. And you can change that if need be, but try your best not to go over 5 days, okay? Because this process starts and you have to absolutely do it.
Hello. Do what?
Let's see here. All right, I had to mute somebody. Sorry about that, you guys. We don't want you to go over 5 days to get earnest money. If they're coming in from out of town, then there's this thing called overnight mail. And that's just, if they don't have a checkbook with them, then they can send it with overnight mail. Weichert Realtors, SEM Associates is there already. You may see in the MLS that the listing company says ABC Title Company to hold earnest money. That's just a suggestion. That's not something you absolutely have to do. We want Weichert to hold the earnest money at this point in time. You will put the address of your office here. I don't remember what the address is here. Is it 4305 or 4035? I got to remember that. 4035 Keith Street. I learn a new address, Northwest Cleveland. Oops. All right. And then I'm going to come on down. There's the 4,000 that we're going to hold. Closing May the 4th. We're going to take possession of the property at closing. That's kind of how we do it around here. And this is already pre-filled in for you about special assessments. And if you don't understand this form, then you need to sit in the contracts class, the forms class that we've been having, because it's very important that you know how to fill out this form, because I'm not going to go over every blank in here today. So lead-based paint does not apply. We'll put that there. I don't think I downloaded. Maybe I did download a lead-based. It don't matter. And so 7 days for inspection, 6 days for resolution. And we're going to come on down here, final inspection 1 day. We're going to come on down here. We're going to waive a home warranty. And I'm just filling out the document, okay? So we're going to pretend that I've got it filled out exactly the way the buyer wants it. So I'm going to click on save. Okay. and I can just again walk through the different transaction forms to fill them out by clicking on transaction forms. A lot of people see this cute little pin up here in the forms editor, and they think they need to send it to be signed from here. And that is not what you do unless you're only sending one form to be signed, okay? Like a counteroffer or a repair proposal or a repair amendment, if it's just one form. When you're making your initial offer, you don't want to send it to AuthentiSign right here, okay? Once you've filled out all the forms that you need to fill out in the transaction, and you've got all these different forms here, okay? Then you can send everything for signature at that point. Does anybody have any questions so far? I see two black screens, Jason and Autumn. I see that you're on here, but I don't see you. So I'm hoping that you don't have any questions or anything. So just let me know if you do have any questions. All right, so once I'm completed filling out all the information, and guys, fill this information out because the lenders and the title companies have to have every piece of this information right here. So make sure you're filling it out, okay? The firm address and things like that. If you pull something, if you import some data from the MLS, a lot of times it will fill this in for you, but you can get all of this information simply looking on the MLS, and you can get license numbers, telephone numbers, addresses, everything from the MLS. You look at the member roster on the MLS and you can get that, okay? Fill that in because it's needed. So once I finish filling out all the forms, I can click on Save and Exit, and it's going to take me back out to the Forms area on the transaction, okay? I'm still sitting in the Forms area. So at this point, if I want to get a signature, it's going to be pretty easy to get, and that's going to be here on signings, okay? And we've got a class coming up on that on AuthentiSign, but this is the signings area, okay? So we will do AuthentiSign in our next class. But what I want to do at this point is I'm going to go here and I want to click on Dashboard, and I just want to show you a few things about Transaction Desk. We walked through creating the transaction. It's that simple, okay? I do know that you can import data from the MLS into a transaction also. So what I'm going to actually do in just a minute is I'm going to go out and show you how to do that. But right here, I want you to understand what these things are. If for some reason you get kicked out of the wizard, or you have to, do something different on your computer and go out of Transaction Desk, you can always come back into the wizard by clicking on the word wizard in the menu, and it is going to bring you back into the whole wizard, and you can use previous and next and all that. One of the things you have to remember about Transaction Desk is don't use your browser's back arrows. That will mess you up. Don't use your browser's back arrows. Use the navigation buttons that are inside the program, okay? I can always click on Dashboard. That's going to get me to the dashboard. That's kind of home plate, if you will. The details section is steps 1 and 2 in the wizard. If I click on details, you're going to be able to see that. Here is the details that we filled out, okay? And then there's the dates that we filled out. So the details section is step 1 and 2 from the wizard. So if you need to change anything, you can go back there and change it. The contacts, again, are the contacts that are involved in the transaction. And you could have 2 buyers, you could have 4 buyers and 2 sellers, and a real estate agent or 2 real estate agents that are, working together as partners like Terry and I do. You could have multiple people in your contact section. If you wanted to, you could put the title company you're using as a contact with their email in there. And then that way, when you're ready, when you're under contract, you can fill out the title order form and send a contract package to the title company straight out of Transaction Desk. You can do that also. The forms. Again, this is on the Tennessee side, the different forms that you may need to use. So if you need to add a form, for instance, let's see, I don't think there's a closing and possession amendment in here. Let's say somewhere along the line during the process of contracted closing, you got to change the closing date. You simply click on the plus add icon and you can just type in closing up here in the search and you'll get all these different closing forms, okay? So the CF forms on Tennessee, the CF are commercial forms and the RF are the residential forms. So I'm looking for a closing and possession amendment form. There it is. Once you've been in the business a while, you may learn numbers, and that's okay if you learn numbers. But if I want this form, then all I do is click in the circle and then click on add, and it adds that form to my list of forms. Okay. Remember, forms you can type on, documents you can't. So I don't have any signings yet. You may have a couple of tabs right here in your signings area. It may say classic and new. You need to always use the new side. So always click on new and use that side. If I want to add a signing, all I do is click on add a signing, give it a name and start from there. Okay. Documents, again, documents are things that you can't type on in this section of transaction desk. And I do know that it's been kind of driving folks crazy because we have all these lists of vendor lists in here, okay? If I am not selling a property in Athens, I can delete these Athens vendor lists. I can come over here to this 3-dot, we call it the traffic light icon. I can click on the traffic light icon and click on delete. It's going to say, are you sure you want to delete it? Yes. Want to get rid of those, okay? If the property I'm selling, I'm using a specific set of vendor lists, then I can get rid of the rest of them, okay? So let's say I'm not using the Cleveland ones, I'm going to delete those, okay? So that's a way to clean up your document section, all right? Because you're only going to be maybe using the Chattanooga vendor list or the Athens vendor list or the Cleveland, whichever one you're going to use, you can get rid of the others. Now, these are forms here that I have uploaded other than this utility list. This utility provider list is here in case you want to send this over and ask the seller to fill out and check the boxes that indicate their utility providers. And this is set up to use for any of our offices. So you could actually send this over to the listing agent and ask them to have their seller fill that out and send it back to you. Okay, so that's what that is. And then when buying your next home is an agency brochure, and these are automatically loaded into your transactions. This is a Tennessee Realtors agency brochure. If you are struggling trying to figure out Tennessee Realtors agency, you may need to read through this yourself, okay? But it is another one of the cover your anatomy things. So if you send this over to your buyers, you can have them sign off on it, and that helps in your risk management. And again, these could be the forms that I brought over from the MLS that the listing agent had uploaded. And as you can see, if I were to open this confirmation of agency, it is not to where it can be, I mean, I'm clicking on it, it's not to where it can be typed on, if you will. So I can type on it once I get it into AuthentiSign by inserting text box and things like that, which is what you basically have to do in this situation. And we will learn that when we do the AuthentiSign class. This is also where you can submit documents here, and the documents that have submit beside it. What you need to remember is you do not need to submit a document until it has all the signatures on it that must be on it, okay? So for instance, this disclosure exemption form right here, this is the one, let's say, that came over from the seller and the buyer needs to sign it, okay? So when I put it into AuthentiSign, I can submit it then, which we'll show you in the AuthentiSign class, the next class. But I don't need to submit something that just has one signature on it unless only one signature is all I need on it, like the WICART forms, like the affiliated business arrangement form. It only needs one signature on it. So as soon as my buyer or seller signs it, I can submit it because it only needs one signature on it. Submission is for a completed document, okay? Everybody's signature is on it. It's been signed by and dated and timed by everybody. That's when you submit. So that is documents. And when you look at the checklist, so the checklist, and I'm going to close each checklist down so you can see there is an under contract checklist and there is a closing checklist. So remember, we're writing up an offer. So those are the two checklists that we need for this transaction. Okay. And so when you look at these two checklists right here, remember when we started and I told you if you logged into the My WICART, and you could go to the company cloud for My WICART. Let me show that again. Okay. This is important because you may want to print out these actual checklists. This company cloud right here on My WICART, and then into SEM tools. And then into checklists. Inside the checklist folder here, it's still working. Sorry, the internet's slow today. It's still working up there. It's fussing at me because I'm, okay, let's try it again. There we go, into the checklist. If I were to open up this Tennessee pending paperless checklist and you were to see it right here, the same items that are on this checklist is in transaction desk under this checklist, okay? So until you learn exactly what you need, you may want to go print out these checklists under SEM tools. And then I also have these training ones. So let's go down here to this Tennessee training, Tennessee pending paperless checklist that's training. And this, I'll call this the red letter edition. This red letter edition says, okay, this is the forms. Here's what we use them for. Here's when you use them. Okay, so that's telling you what we need. So you can go into your KV Core, your My WICART, click on the company cloud, click on SEM tools. If you've never done that before, then it will send Todd an email and he will approve you to have access to that. And then you will open it up and there's lots of training stuff in here. Okay, so I've got y'all covering up stuff over here. Let me go backwards. All right, so let me show you what all's in here. There's buyer information. There's your checklist. There's some expired information. Here's some different forms. These are some of the company forms. These are also the annotated training forms are in here. Let me open that up and show you. There's the 2022, and here's the purchase and sale agreement and the notification form, the Tennessee side. In here, I don't have the Georgias in here yet. I've just started working on that. But you need to go kind of mess around in here. If you need logos, it's under media and marketing. And then there's all these transaction desk directions and such that's in here. And I am steadily adding stuff. That's my new job description right now. And so I've been doing some of that stuff over the last couple of weeks. And so there's lots of stuff in here that you can use. But those checklists are the exact same checklist that's in transaction desk. So if you don't know what and why you need something, then you need to go print that stuff out and go over it and read through it and understand why we need them. And then once you're ready to submit it, you can just attach them from here. There's about 4 different places in transaction desk that you can submit a document. And we're going to go over, we're going to have a specific class on that, submitting documents. Tasks we don't really use. You could, that's an advanced technique. Call logs is very important for you when you have a conversation with a customer or client. then you need to make a record of it, and you just go into the transaction, click on call logs, click on the plus or add, and put who called you, what the subject was, and what y'all talked about, and save it, and it'll have to be a record that you can use if you ever need to use it. But those are the menu items as far as transaction desk goes. We walked through creating a transaction. Now, what we did is we manually created the transaction where we entered all the information. So I'm going to go back out to my dashboard, which is the left-hand side. Remember, the left-hand menu is the system menu. So I'm going to go back out to the main menu, and I'm going to create a transaction. Okay, so I'm going to click on the transaction, and I'm going to name this. Let's see here. Let me get an MLS number here. I'm just going to look for an MLS number real quick. You'll do anything quick with Spectrum Service here. Let's see. Let me move y'all around. 1365972. Let me just open that up. And this is the Chattanooga MLS right here. I'm going to copy that MLS number and go back to transaction desk. So I'm going to name this, I think, what was that, 419 or 411 Fairpoint. So I'm going to name it 411 Fairpoint hyphen Mother Goose. Okay, that's my buyer. I'm going to use the template of residential house sale package, and I'm going to import data. So I'm going to click on select source. I'm going to choose the MLS, which is Chattanooga, and I'm going to enter that MLS number. And you can do this with any of the MLSs that you have access to, Chattanooga, Knoxville, River counties, and you can click on create at that point. Now, what the system is doing at this point is it's going out to the MLS, and it is grabbing the information, the seller's names if they're in the MLS, the address. It's grabbing the information about that specific listing, and it will bring information over. Some of the MLSs will bring documents over. Some of them will, bring over your confirmation of agency and your property condition and those kind of things. And so you can see the difference when it has brought it over, and when I created it, it brings over the main picture, which that is the main picture of that listing. It brings over the street number and the subdivision, the deed book and page number and the tax ID and the legal description that's out of the tax records, which you can leave that, that's fine. And it brings over the list price. Then I can go ahead and start filling information out. Okay. So I just can walk through next. It may fuss at me. And so as you can see here, I got to find out where that other selling broker is. I'm gonna fix that. And there's the listing agent, the selling broker, the listing broker. I still have to add buyers and sellers at this point. And let's see, there's all my forms. And there's the documents that came over. And look, it brought over a floor plan, a confirmation of agency, a property condition exemption notification, and a personal interest. I didn't have to upload it because I brought it in from the MLS at that point, okay? And so that is another way to create the transaction. I'm going to show you yet another way, okay? So of starting a transaction. So I imported data at that point. So I'm going to come back over here to my agent dashboard. And we're going to pretend we're not even logged into transaction desk. And I'm going to, now this is Flex. So it works the same in Knoxville. And I believe the guys I see on here from Etowah, you guys are River counties. It works the same in River counties. There's an icon on the listing. When you are looking at the detail sheet of the listing, there is an icon that you can click on that will open transaction desk. So in Flex, it happens to be this little icon right here. If I run my cursor over it, you can see that it opens transaction desk. And when I click on it, it's going to bring me to the create and name your transaction window. At least that's what it's supposed to do. Let's hope it does that. It opens it all the way up. It used to bring you to the Oh, it brought me to the same one because I'd already done it. So let me log out of here and let's do that again. I'm sorry, guys. Let me log out of both of them. Yeah. So yeah, I'm already logged out. It's fussing at me. So let's go back over here to this MLS. And I'm going to click on transaction desk again. And I'm not logged in anywhere. So it's logging me in and it should create the transaction. And because I've imported the data from that listing, it may go back and do the exact same thing, which it is. It's pulling the same thing because I've already imported it once, okay? But it will bring you to, when you import, normally it's going to bring you to this screen right here, okay? To where you can actually name it. It's already going to, you name it and choose your template because it's already going to have the import data information in there. But you can do that from all the MLSs that we have around us that we use. So that would be River Counties, Greater Chattanooga, and Knoxville. They all have the option of creating the transaction from the detail sheet inside the MLS. So there's many ways to get in there and do a transaction when you need to do a transaction. So at this point, I want to open it up and see if you guys have any questions. That's just simply creating a transaction. Anything? Okay, guys, so the next one is going to be, and I don't know, let me show you guys something here. The new calendar is out. You should have gotten it in your email, and it is also on the SEM tools. So this is the class we're having today. We're going to have a lead generation class on Thursday, and the email I sent out said we were going to finish up the purchase and sale agreement, but I got a week ahead of myself. I forgot the offices are closed for Good Friday this week. And then next Monday, I'm going to be, if you have a Georgia license, I'm going to be going over the Georgia purchase and sale agreement. But you need to check this calendar on a regular basis to see what training is there, okay? Because it's really important that you participate in the training. And also watch that SEM tools. I'm going to be uploading a lot of things in there for you. There's a video that I'm going to be uploading. This is for Susie. I'm going to be uploading a video. I did it yesterday, and it's going to be on moving things from Georgia to Tennessee. So we're going to work on that quite a bit for folks. But I appreciate y'all coming today, and thank you very much. And that is how to create a transaction. It's pretty easy. And I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Bye.